The atmosphere in the theater suddenly changed. Versio began to laugh. If we're talking about secrets, he said, the Saintess has a much bigger one. What do you mean? The Saintess asked. Stunned, Versio explained that he had known from the very beginning that the Saintess also harbors special feelings for Dana. Vert pointed out that he had many siblings who could take his place. He had no ambition for the position of emperor, so he was ready to abandon it at any time. But what about you, Saintess? He asked. Even though you are holding Dana captive with your status, can you abandon everything for Dana? And with that, he turned and left. Ian was left in complete shock. He couldn't comprehend how much Versio knew. Dana reached Maid Finn only to realize there had been no summons at all. Puzzled, she turned back, but her path was blocked by a stranger. I am the Grand Priest of the Imperial Church and the Saintess's father, the man announced with a thin smile. As they engaged in stiff small talk, the Grand Priest's expression twisted into a predatory smirk. I hear you and the Saintess have grown quite close. Tell me, exactly how much do you know about her? Before Dana could respond, the Saintess appeared, appearing visibly shaken. What are you doing here? Ian demanded, shielding Dana. I simply wanted to meet the woman my daughter has become so fond of, the Grand Priest replied, stepping closer. He dropped a heavy hand onto Ian's shoulder. I hear you've been wandering outside the temple quite freely lately. Is this girl the reason? His voice dropped to a threatening whisper. You made a promise to me, and I am very disappointed. Do I need to remind you of your place? Or perhaps you've forgotten the room where I used to keep you. You always seemed to like it so much. A violent shudder racked Ian's body. Seeing his terror, Dana didn't hesitate. She stepped between them, forcefully shoving the Grand Priest away. My apologies, but we must return to the temple immediately, Dana declared. She grabbed Ian's hand, pulling him away as they sprinted into the distance. Behind them, the Grand Priest stared after Dana, his eyes narrowing with newfound interest. Back in the safety of her room, Dana fretted over whether she had overstepped by interrupting a family discussion. But the memory of the Grand Priest's eyes stayed with her. That was no normal relationship between a parent and child. She turned to Ian. Why did you lie about the maid looking for me? Ian brushed it off with a hollow wave of his hand. I must have misheard. More importantly, how was your rehearsal with Versio? The script is long, Dana sighed, beginning to recite her lines. She stumbled over the next part, but Ian finished it seamlessly. By my name, I know not how to tell thee who I am. Dana blinked in surprise. Don't you know the lines? As the Saintess, I received the script for the festival as well, Ian said flatly. Memorizing it is a simple task. Suddenly, Ian moved, pinning her against the bed. The air in the room vanished. Is this the part you practiced with Versio? Dana's face flushed crimson. Ian leaned closer. My love, my wife death, which has drawn thy breath away. Here I will take my eternal rest. And with this kiss I go. He hovered inches from her lips, but just as he moved to close the gap, the shadows of the past intervened. He remembered Versio's threats. He felt his father's hand on his shoulder. Remember your place. Ian pulled her back, his face returning to a sarcastic mask. That was a bit much for a joke, he said dismissively. Practice in moderation and go to bed early. Incensed, Dana lunged forward, grabbing him by the collar and landing a sharp strike across his face. How dare you? Ian began, stunned. Stop it, Dana snapped. Stop playing with people's feelings just because you're bored. Ian was left speechless as Dana turned away, coaching her own heart to remain still. Don't let him sway you, she told herself. He acts without thinking because we live in different worlds. To him, this is all just a game. The following morning, Versio arrived to find Dana, his eyes bright with the hope of practicing together. His enthusiasm, however, was quickly dampened. Nana was firm. Rehearsal would only happen after classes. After a busy weeks of preparation, the festival day finally arrived. Just before the curtain rose, disaster struck. Chloe, the female lead, had fallen ill. Panic swept through the theater club until all eyes landed on the only other person who had memorized every single line, Dana. She refused with every fiber of her being, but after her classmates practically begged her in tears, claiming the festival would be ruined without her, she finally relented. When Dana emerged from the dressing room in the heroine's gown, she felt utterly out of place. Lorenz froze. Too much skin showing, he muttered. He tried to find a cover for her shoulders, but the girls pulled him away. Versio, on the other hand, couldn't look away. "You look beautiful, Dana," he whispered. "So beautiful that I find myself wishing no one else could see you." Flustered, Dana tried to compliment his costume to deflect the tension, but her mind betrayingly drifted to the Saintess. "I wonder what Ian would say if he were here. He'd probably snark that you can't turn a pumpkin into a watermelon just by drawing stripes on it." She shook the thought away, annoyed with herself. Why was she thinking of him now? And why wasn't he around today of all days? On her way to the theater, Dana caught sight of a suspicious figure lurking in the shadows. But the pre-show adrenaline pushed the thought aside. The hall was packed. The audience held their breath as the play began. The story of Romeo, a man loved by all, and Julietta, the innocent girl who awaited him. Versio played his part with terrifying sincerity. "Among so many, only you caught my eye," he declared, tenderly taking Dana's hand. "If my unworthy lips have defiled your holy hand, I shall gladly accept the punishment." The audience swooned, but the atmosphere shifted the moment Dana spoke. She delivered her poetic lines about fated love in a flat, robotic monotone, as if she were reciting a military manual. The crowd was bewildered, though Dana privately felt she was doing an excellent job. The scene took a sharp turn when Tybalt, played by Lorenz, entered. Blinded by genuine jealousy at the sight of Versio kissing Dana's hand, Lorenz abandoned the script. The stage combat spiraled into a lethal duel. Versio nearly unalived him right there on stage for the crime of calling Dana his lady. The curtains were slammed shut in a panic. Behind the scenes, Dana stood in a stupor. It's over. The play is ruined. The second act began. Julietta woke from her draft to find Romeo's cold body beside her. But before she could join him in death, the stage was suddenly bathed in a blinding, ethereal light. A goddess, the protector of love and peace, descended upon the stage. The Saintess's followers wept with joy at the sight of their idol. The Saintess played the role with breathtaking majesty until, suddenly, the suspicious figure from earlier lunged onto the stage. "Fake Saintess," he screamed. "I will expose this fraud for the whole world to see." Dana moved instinctively, leveling her blade at the assassin, but the man only laughed. "It's too late. The smoke I've released contains a potion that unravels all transformation magic." Panic seized Dana. She waited for the magic to break, for the Saintess to revert back into Ian in front of the entire empire, but nothing happened. Her appearance didn't flicker. The Saintess continued to act as if the intruder were merely part of the play. Guards dragged the villain away while the Saintess approached the fallen Versio. Deviating from the script, she did not resurrect him. Even a goddess cannot bring the dead back to life. Her voice rang out with divine authority. "Julietta, take this as a lesson in the preciousness of life. Live on and be strong." The audience was moved to tears by the profound ending. It was a triumph. Once the applause faded, Dana hurried to the dressing room. What she found there left her speechless. Standing before her was the real Saintess, Eon's twin sister. She stepped close to the stunned Dana and whispered in her ear, "Please, take good care of my brother." Before Dana could process this, the real Eon burst into the room. Weren't you just on stage?" Dana stammered. "On stage," Ian hissed. "I've been trapped in the temple for the entire duration of the play." They realized then that the real Saintess had somehow caught wind of the assassin's plan and decided to intervene personally to save them. Dana looked at Ian, her confusion deepening. But didn't the real Saintess elope with her lover? If she went to such lengths to leave, why would she return now to stop an assassin? Eon's brow furrowed, a flicker of inner turmoil crossing his face. "I don't know the answer to that. You would have to ask the Saintess herself." He didn't waste another moment, immediately ordering Finn to track down Iana's whereabouts before the church noticed anything was amiss. As Dana watched Ian's frantic concern for his sister despite his usual cold exterior, she realized that, despite everything, their sibling relationship wasn't so bad after all. With the festival behind them, the looming shadow of summer vacation should have been a relief. But for Dana, there was only one thing that mattered: final exams. Lorenz approached her with a sharp, determined glint in his eyes. "This time, it's a true battle," he declared. "I fully intend to surpass you." Their rivalry was interrupted by the sudden arrival of Lorenz's father. His presence was cold. His praise for Lorenz's performance, in the festival quickly, turning into a venomous lecture. I am furious that my son was outranked by a commoner, the Duke hissed. I find myself doubting if you are even my blood. Your siblings always took the top spots. Why can't you manage even this? If you lack the natural ability, Lorenz, you must achieve your goals by any means necessary. Haunted by his father's words, Lorenz later approached Dana with a desperate offer. He knew Dana relied on the scholarship that came with first place. I'll give you several times the scholarship amount, he blurted out. Just let me have the top spot. Step down. Dana looked at him with disappointment. I expected better of you, Lorenz, she said coldly, turning her back before he could plead further. Even if she was struggling financially, her pride was not for sale. That first place ranking was the only thing she truly owned. On the day of the exam, Lorenz approached Dana and handed her a piece of chocolate, wishing her luck. But midway through the test, a sharp, cramping pain seized her stomach, making it impossible to focus. When the results were posted, for the first time in her life, Dana had fallen to second place. As her classmates fussed over her, an empty vial fell from Lorenz's bag, a medicine known to cause severe stomach distress. The classroom went silent, their gazes turning to Lorenz with pure disgust. Did you really sink this low? Classmate whispered. Lorenz looked horrified. I didn't. This time, I played fair, he shouted. But when he saw the icy, heartbroken look in Dana's eyes, he couldn't take it. He burst into tears and fled the room. Dana returned home, her heart heavy. Losing the scholarship felt like losing her future. But Ian, sensing her distress, approached her with his usual effortless grace. Don't worry about next semester, he said. I've arranged, through my influence, for second place to receive a scholarship as well. The joy that flooded Dana's face was so radiant that Ian actually blushed, caught off guard by the intensity of her gratitude. The next day, summer vacation began, and Dana's friends kidnapped her yet again, whisking her away to the private beach belonging to Lorenz's family. He had invited the whole class to relax, but the atmosphere between him and Dana remained strained. Eventually, they found themselves sitting together on the shore. I suppose you think I pulled another cheap trick, Lorenz said, staring at the waves. I don't blame you for doubting me. I don't think you did it, Dana interrupted. You promised me you wouldn't do that again, she continued quietly. And I know you're too proud to take back your word. She added that she already told the rest of the class she doesn't believe he's to blame. Lorenz choked back a sob, apologizing for his earlier bribe and swearing to beat her fairly next time. He looked at Dana, wonder in his eyes, realizing that perhaps his obsession with her wasn't about rivalry at all. It was something he didn't yet know how to name. The tension broke when Lorenz tried to act cool, claiming he wasn't crying on the exam day and that it was just dust in his eyes. Okay, you didn't cry, Dana agreed. She thanked him for the chocolate he'd given her. And suddenly, he was shoving more chocolate into her hands. Seeing a smudge on her cheek, he reached out, leaning in close, only to slip on the wet sand and tumble into the water. Dana's laughter rang out across the beach. Lorenz grabbed her hand, pulling her into the surf with him until they were both drenched. As the rest of their friends joined in, Dana looked around and lost herself in thought. She used to think her world would end if she wasn't first, but here she was, in second place, and the sun was still shining. Maybe it's okay to loosen up a little. As night fell, the beach turned romantic under the moonlight. Bella sighed, looking at the stars. Wouldn't it be perfect if a handsome prince on a white horse showed up tonight? Do people like that even exist? Dana asked, skeptical. Even without a fateful encounter, Bella said, her voice softening. I'd be happy if days like this just kept going. Happy times always end too soon. With those cryptic words, she wandered off. A moment later, a heavy cloak was draped over Dana's shoulders. She turned to find Versio. Don't trust the people around you so easily, Dana, he warned, with his cold voice. I know exactly who drugged you during the exam. The next morning, as Dana was packing her bags, she found herself alone with Bella. The air felt cold despite the summer heat. Don't you have anything to say to me? Dana asked directly. Why did you do it, Bella? The sweet, innocent mask Bella always wore finally shattered. She began to laugh, sharp, jagged sound that didn't reach her eyes. It took you that long to realize, Bella sneered, her face twisting with malice. Dana, I have always despised you. Everyone adores you, Bella continued, her voice cold and sharp. She spoke about how Dana had been appointed as the Saintess's escort knight the moment she enrolled. To Bella, Dana was just lucky. The way Dana walked around with her chin held high, full of confidence, had always irritated her. Because life seemed so easy for Dana, Bella wanted to mess with her. She wanted to teach her. Lesson 2 show her that not everyone in this world liked her. With those bitter words, Bella turned and left for home. When Bella arrived, she greeted her foster father, but he immediately began to put her down. He mocked her, asking if she had gained weight again. He warned her that her future husband hated fat women and that she needed to watch herself to pay him back for taking in a low-born commoner like her. He continued to yell, asking if she truly thought she was a real noble, just because she attended the academy. He was furious that she had even tried to write a play under her own name. "Have you forgotten?" he sneered. "Without my name, your writing has no value at all." Bella quietly thanked him for allowing her to go to the academy, but he only reminded her to pay her debt. He ordered her to look flawless for her fiancé the next day. As she sat alone, Bella remembered where she came from. She was born at the very bottom, in the slums, and survived by selling her ability to write. Her foster father had noticed her talent, and since then, she had become his shadow. She was forced to write every play under his name, allowing him to be recognized as a genius and granted a noble title. The world praised him for his incredible talent and his kindness for adopting a poor girl. Bella never thought this was unfair. She believed that a low-born girl like her should always keep her head down. To her, staying as quiet as the dead was the only way to survive. But everything changed when she met Dana. Dana was also a commoner, yet she never bowed before arrogant nobles. Unlike Bella, Dana didn't have to wear a fake, painful smile just to get through the day. Whenever Bella looked in the mirror, she felt her own smiling face looked ugly compared to Dana's. She didn't understand why her eyes were always following Dana, chasing after the light she didn't have. She felt trapped in a life that wasn't hers, and eventually, she decided there was only one way to escape. She wanted to be like Dana, but she didn't think she could. Deciding to end it all, she stood at the edge of her despair, but suddenly, the shadows broke. Dana appeared, reaching out a hand to pull her back from the darkness, saving her life just as the world was about to fade away. Bella stared at her, stunned. How? How did you even get here? Dana wiped the sweat from her forehead. She explained that Chloe and Sherry had told her the news Bella was being forced to marry a disgusting viscount. Her friends didn't believe for a second that Bella would choose such an ugly man on her own. They knew she had high standards and always dreamed of a prince. Dana had tried to speak with her properly, but Bella's foster father wouldn't let her through the front door. So, she did what she did best, she snuck in. Dana looked Bella straight in the eyes. "You don't actually want to get married, do you? Is that why you were standing on the edge? Is that why you wanted to jump?" Bella's expression twisted. "You think you can just show up and solve all my problems for me?" She lunged forward, grabbing Dana by the collar, her voice trembling with rage. "What do you even understand about my life? My father is selling me like an asset to pay off his debts," Bella screamed. "I've lived on this family's money my whole life, so my feelings don't matter. I'm just a tool." Dana didn't back down. She shouted right back. "But you always said you were waiting for your destined lover. That's the kind of heart you put into your stories." Bella began to shake, her grip tightening. "Every novel I ever wrote was fake. It was all lies. Just stupid fantasies to forget how miserable I am." Suddenly, the sky broke. A torrential rain began to pour, soaking them both and making the air between them feel even heavier. Bella let go, her shoulders slumped. "There is no Prince Charming, Dana. There is no happy ending. Just go home. There's nothing you can do for me. I'm not going to die today, so just leave me alone." The wedding day arrived. The Viscount leaned toward Bella. "From this day on, you are to quit writing your useless novels. You will learn your place." Bella stood in despair, her head bowed low, staring at the floor. She felt the light of her life finally flickering out. The priest's voice echoed through the cold stone hall. "If anyone objects to this marriage, speak now or remain silent forever." She thought her happy days were over, but suddenly, the heavy church doors burst open. The sound of galloping hooves thundered against the marble as a prince, on a white horse, charged straight toward the altar. The crowd gasped in absolute shock. Dana, dressed in the regalia of a prince, looked down at the Viscount. "I've come to reclaim my bride," she declared. A heavy silence fell over the hall, followed by frantic whispering. Dana was starting to think the horse was a bit much, but Chloe and Sherry had insisted it was necessary for the dramatic effect. Viscount Lillian turned purple with rage. "How dare you barge in here?" he roared, ordering the guards to seize them. "This marriage is blessed by the church. You have no power to stop it." "Actually, I have every power." The Saintess entered the hall. "I am the representative of the church, and I have no intention of blessing this union." The Viscount fell to his knees, trembling. "Your Holiness, what brings you here?" "As the goddess's proxy, I cannot stand by while a woman is forced into marriage against her will." Lorenz stepped forward then. "You are the scum of humankind, Viscount, selling your daughter for a few coins." He revealed a stack of documents. "I know for a fact that every play credited to your name was actually written by Bella. You've been stealing the work of your students for years. Once this goes public, you'll be stripped of your title and your name." Terrified, the Viscount scrambled toward Bella, grabbing her arm. "Bella, tell them it was your choice. You have to repay my kindness." Bella began to panic, her breath hitching. But Dana reached out from atop her horse. "It's your choice, Bella. Do you want to spend the rest of your life beside these people, always holding your breath, or will you come with us?" Bella looked at the Viscount's desperate, ugly face. She couldn't hold it back anymore. She swung her hand and struck him across the face with everything she had. "You nauseate me," she spat. "I don't want to spend another second in your shadow." She turned and ran toward her friends. Bella began to worry about her future, but the Saintess quickly settled the matter. "From this day forward, Bella is the officially sponsored playwright of the church." Bella turned to Dana, eyes wide. "How is that possible?" "It's an honor you always deserved," Dana said. Bella then looked at Lorenz, still confused. "Why did you help me?" "I still don't like you," he muttered. "But your words about nobles only using commoners as they pleased stuck with me. I wanted to prove that not all of us are like that. Protecting people from injustice is a noble's duty." He paused, his face turned red. "Also, Dana asked for help," he added. Bella burst into tears, looking at Dana. "After all the cruel things I did to you, why would you save me? The time we spent together, it didn't feel like a lie to me," Dana said, extending her hand. "Shall we give it another chance? Let's be real friends, starting now." In that moment, Bella realized why everyone loved Dana, even when Bella had given up on herself. Dana had genuinely reached out. Bella couldn't hide her feelings anymore. She ran to Dana and threw her arms around her in a tight hug. "The 4 manhunters are forever," Bella said, and cried with a bright smile. Dana blinked. "Wait, I'm in the group now. This pact between ladies can never be broken," Chloe declared. Sherry joined in, grinning. "With my directing and Bella's romantic scripts, we're going to conquer the world. And if we ever need money, just say the word, 'My family is filthy rich.'" They handed Bella a stack of letters. They were fan letters from people who had been moved by her writing. Bella wept with joy, her mind already racing with new ideas. She leaned in and whispered to Dana, "My next male lead is going to be based on you." She then kissed Dana on the cheek. Lorenz's jaw dropped. "I am absolutely against this," he shouted. Chloe and Sherry grabbed him by the collar, dragging him away. "Don't ruin the mood, Lorenz." As Bella watched the chaos, she finally understood something important. She might not have been the protagonist chosen by the world, but she could be the protagonist of her own life. And soon she wrote a new play about her Prince Charming. During summer break makeup classes, Bella was approached by her classmate, Mobius. Previously, Bella had bluntly rejected him, stating that she hated ugly men. Taking those words to heart, Mobius had been working on his globe just to impress her. He began by apologizing for his rude confession from before, acknowledging that she didn't really know anything about him yet. Mobius then confessed that he had fallen for the way she looked while writing. Even in a chaotic classroom, she remained entirely in her own world. Flustered, he admitted how much he genuinely enjoyed the romance novels she wrote, and began listing them off. Though a thoroughly awkward Bella quickly asked him to stop, he tentatively asked if it was strange for a guy to read romance novels. Admitting he was no grand male lead, he asked if she'd still consider him as a candidate. Bella was genuinely surprised. She had written him off as just another arrogant guy who would look down on her commoner roots, but she was wrong. Meanwhile, Versio was keeping an eye on Bella. He figured out that she was exactly like him, putting on a pleasant front while hiding something dark underneath. He resolved right then that he would never let someone like her stay close to Dana. Staring at a photo, Versio mused on just how incredibly naive Dana was, always willing to forgive a person even after everything they had done. Yet, he had to admit to himself that was part of what he loved about her. Still, he refused to watch her kindness be exploited any longer. He wanted to keep her solely by his side, even if it wasn't what she wanted. His gaze drifted coldly to the engagement rings already prepared and waiting on his desk. Meanwhile, Dana had finally returned home to her parents. They were overjoyed to see her, but their eyes widened in surprise when they caught sight of the handsome young man accompanying her. Sometime prior, back at the palace, Ian had abruptly informed Dana that he would be joining her on her trip home for the summer break. When a shocked Dana demanded to know why, Finn intervened to explain that someone had spotted a blonde woman with blue eyes in her home village. Ian cut back into the conversation, noting that these specific features belonged exclusively to the Saintess bloodline. It was likely Iana, and he needed to meet her to convince her to return before the church uncovered the truth. When Dana questioned why the church shouldn't find out, Finn grimly replied that when the high priest is furious, he's capable of anything. Because even in the most rural areas, everyone knew the distinct appearance of the Saintess. Ian used a confiscated assassin's potion to temporarily disguise his appearance. The catch, it only lasted 3 days, creating a tight window for their search. To avoid suspicion, Ian ordered Finn to act as his body double back at the sacred hall. Upon their arrival, Dana introduced Ian to her parents as Finn explaining that they worked together as guards for the Saintess. She explained he wanted to experience commoner life, so she brought him along. Stunned that she had brought a man home, her parents immediately assumed he was their future son-in-law. Her father, however, noted the boy was far too handsome, looking like someone who had never suffered a day in his life. Suddenly, Dana's stomach growled. She remarked that while they had worked all day, the food portions here were tiny compared to the academy. She asked Ian if he was worried about not finding the real Saintess today. Dana suggested leaving tomorrow's worries for later, proposing they get some fresh air and head out to grab a bite to eat. Conveniently, there was a village festival with a night market happening that very night. As they walked through the stalls, Dana noted, "It's not as crowded as I expected, probably because it's a brand new tradition." Ian let his guard down. "I can skip the heavy disguise tonight. It's dark enough that no one will get a good look at me anyway." It was the first time he had stepped out as his true self. "What do people even do at these festivals?" he asked. Genuinely curious, Dana stared at him, bewildered. "You've really never been to a festival? It would be quite strange for a dead person to be walking around, wouldn't it?" The official records claimed he had died of illness in his youth. The people of the kingdom couldn't even fathom the existence of a fake saint, let alone a man playing the role. Dana tilted her head. If the real Saintess was in her rightful place back then, why go to such lengths to create a fake? Ian's expression clouded over. "The fact that I am a fake Saintess isn't the only secret, Dana." Before the tension could spiral, a street vendor called out to them, offering a skewer. Dana stared at it, and Ian nonchalantly asked if she wanted one, noting that it was just cheap food. He walked up to the stall and offered to buy everything, but realized he had forgotten his wallet at home. Dana ended up buying a couple for them, shoving one into Ian's mouth. She asked how he liked it. He turned red and admitted it was better than he thought. The vendor called him Loverboy, remarked that he was incredibly handsome, and mentioned they were holding a beautiful man contest on the stage. The host's voice boomed over the crowd. "On this sacred night, when Goddess Chloris once descended, we begin our first annual Goddess Rebirth Festival. Who will be crowned the most beautiful man in the village?" It was said the goddess loved beauty, and the village prayed that this contest might bring her back. Ian scoffed. What a ridiculous festival. But the moment the host announced the prize premium meat set Dana's eyes sparkled with pure joy. The first candidate was the village's only man in his 20s, a local favorite. Next was the butcher, but the crowd of women shooed him off stage, yelling at him to have some shame. The villagers began to groan as they ran out of contestants. The host shouted in desperation, "Any handsome men from other villages here?" Ian couldn't take the suspense. He sighed, stepped forward, and discarded his heavy cloak. Everyone was blinded by his beauty. People whispered that his features were brighter than this village's future, and that a god had descended. All the judges collapsed in awe, and Ian won. The host stared at his blonde hair and blue eyes, asking if he had dressed up to match the goddess theme. The villagers surrounded him, declaring him their village savior, and saying they eagerly awaited next year's festival. Seeing their genuine joy, Ian felt a warmth he hadn't known before. Even if he wasn't the Saintess, people still needed him. Once they escaped the crowd, Dana cheered, "You won? And honestly, that flower crown suits you perfectly." Ian took the crown off his head and gently placed it on Dana. "You're not so bad yourself." Dana felt a shiver run down her spine. Maybe that skewer was spoiled. Ian quickly pulled back, clearing his throat. "Don't get used to it. You still can't compare to my beauty." Dana laughed, relieved. "That's more like you. Are you feeling better now?" Ian thanked her, admitting that she had noticed he was gloomy and had suggested the outing, which he ended up enjoying. Dana told him there was no need to thank her, as she only came because she was hungry. Ian smirked, saying that was typical of her, refusing to lean on anyone while helping people without realizing it. He confessed that he liked that about her. Dana froze, eyes wide. Ian panicked, realizing he'd let his guard down too far. He quickly scrambled to smooth things over. I like that you're my guard. You're just easy to be around. You're a good person, and I truly appreciate your work." A good person? Dana's mind drifted as she repeated the words. She didn't see herself that way at all. "I'm actually selfish," she thought. From the moment she crossed over into this world, she had built a fortress around her secret. She'd never tell anyone, not even her parents back home. Who would believe such an absurd truth? She was terrified of the rejection, of being branded a foreign body, a parasite who had stolen the life of the real child these parents deserved. She had convinced herself to live quietly, unnoticed. Other people were just background scenery, fleeting shadows she wouldn't allow herself to belong to. But the moment Ian had stormed into her life, every plan had shattered. Her days were loud, chaotic, and utterly devoid of peace. Yet, to her own surprise, she didn't hate it. Ian's voice cut through her thoughts. "Why are you so spaced out? Did you finally fall for my beauty?" Dana burst into laughter. "You're so weird." Ian pouted, looking genuinely offended. "I complimented you, and that's the kind of reaction I get." Dana smiled. "Still, if you weren't exactly who you are, life would be incredibly boring. I'm actually glad the Academy brought us together, Your Holiness." Ian's heart hammered against his ribs. He felt his face heat up and quickly stammered, "Stop calling me that. Someone might hear you." Dana questioned how she should call him instead. He leaned in close and whispered, "You haven't forgotten my name, have you? Call me Ian, at least when we're in the village." Suddenly, the announcement came that it was time for the Saintess to grace the stage. They rushed toward the sound, but instead of the Saintess, they saw a group of dressed-up middle-aged men. The host announced that the Saintess cosplay contest had begun. Ian was outraged, shouting that throwing them in jail wouldn't be enough. Yet, deep down, he felt relieved, wondering what would have happened if he had actually found the real Iana there. Dana asked why he was staring at her, but their conversation was interrupted by villagers inviting them to have a drink. Dana tried to decline, saying they were fine, but they couldn't simply send off the village's benefactors. Sometime later, they returned home, but Ian was completely dizzy. Dana had been too focused on the food and had forgotten to keep an eye on him. She threw him onto the bed and was about to fetch water, when Ian grabbed her hand. "Don't leave me. You're my guard, but why are you always trying to slip out of my hands?" "You're really drunk," Dana sighed, trying to pull away. He hugged her and pulled her tightly against him. She grew flustered and asked what he was doing. "Stay still. You're mine, so stay by my side," he murmured. "What kind of drunken nonsense is this?" she thought. She punched him in the face and said, "Your Holiness, let go of me." Ian took her head in his hands and started to murmur, "I said to call me Ian." He grew indignant that she called everyone else by their name perfectly. So why was he always just Your Holiness? She asked if he would let her go if she called him by his name. He nodded. Dana looked into his eyes and gently said his name. Before she knew it, he had leaned in to her lips. Their breathing grew heavy. He brushed his hand across her face, kissed her tenderly, and smiled the most beautiful smile she had ever seen. She stared at him, completely frozen. But before she could process the kiss, Ian's eyes fluttered shut, and he collapsed, dead asleep. What kind of person does that? She shrieked internally. The next morning, Ian woke up confused, not knowing where he was. Where else? My home, Dana answered. I remember drinking in the village, but how did I get here? Ian asked. Dana didn't blink. How else? I carried you. Ian's gaze dropped to her lips, suddenly remembering what happened last night, and fell off the bed. Dana approached him and asked if he was all right. He began asking, incredibly flustered, if he had done anything to her last night. She looked at him as if she had no idea what he was talking about, and told him to sober up and come eat breakfast together. Ian wondered if the whole thing had just been a dream. Meanwhile, Dana stepped out of the room, feeling relieved that he didn't seem to remember anything. Still, she began to wonder why she hadn't pulled him away the night before. Ian stepped out of the room and was immediately called over by Dana's father. He began to interrogate Ian, saying he heard they stayed out late and that Ian had even slept in her room. He started scolding Ian, saying he knew how passionate young people could be, but that this was going too far. Their conversation was cut short by Dana's mother, who called Ian to eat so they could finish the discussion together. As they ate, her mother's tone shifted, becoming soft and wistful. Dana doesn't talk much about herself. She hates relying on others. Sometimes it feels as if she's living a second life, one where she's had to carry everything alone. She told Ian she hoped he would look after her daughter, as it was the first time she had seen Dana so comfortable around someone, adding that she wished Dana would learn to rely on them just as much. Dana, who had been listening from outside, was deeply touched by her mother's words. She entered the room and announced that she was finished packing. Her mother was upset that she was leaving so soon, but Dana couldn't hold back and went over to hug her, promising that she would visit more often. Her mother was happy to hear it, telling her she could always come home if things got hard. Her father burst into the conversation, declaring that if any noble brats troubled her, he would deal with them personally. He also added that he would keep a close eye on Finn. As they sat in the carriage, Ian remarked that she really could rely more on the people around her. They were her parents, after all. Dana simply agreed with a smile, promising that she would try harder from now on. Finn was overjoyed when they finally returned, as he had been worried sick. Suddenly, Finn mentioned that a letter had arrived for Dana while they were gone. They opened it to find an invitation from the palace. The letter read, "In the name of the Crown Prince, we wish to receive you as our guest. Please visit at a time convenient to you." Ian grew deeply anxious. Why would Versio invite Dana to the palace? What exactly is he plotting?